Okay, the time is 1 minute past 12, and we have a majority of the confirmed guests logged in. So let's begin. First, I would like to welcome you all to this 30-minute Questback webinar. Today, the topic for today's webinar is eNPS and how you can, with our tool, our survey tool, create eNPS survey in a very quick way. So before getting into today's topic, I would like to present for you the people that will guide you through this webinar. First of all, it's me. My name is Otto, and I am I'm head of customer success in Sweden. So I am responsible for all the Swedish customers, and my team, the customer success team in Sweden, help all the Swedish customers to get out as much as possible of our product. With me here today, I have Tobias, and he is one of the real product specialists. He's a real guru, and he's been working here more than 10 years, I think, now.
I think it's about 15 years, yes.
15 years, okay.
Hello, everybody, yes.
So he knows everything about the system, and he will in a short while guide you through a demo and on how you can create this survey. But before that, I would like to start by talking a little bit about MPS and eNPS. So what is MPS? Most of you have already heard this, but I would just shortly describe it once again. MPS, or Net Promoter Score, is a concept that was developed by Fred Reichheld in the 90s. And he did this as a measurement for customer loyalty. And the methodology is pretty simple. It's based on a single question. How likely is it that you would recommend our company to a colleague or a friend? The scale for this question should be 0 to 10, where 0 means not likely at all, and 10 means very likely. I know that at least in Sweden, we have some customers that change the scale of this question, and when you do that, it's not really a MPS question anymore. So it's very important that you stick to the question and also the scale. And depending on how your customers or employees are answering, they will be grouped and categorized in three different groups. So if you answer something between 0 and 6, you will become a detractor. If you answer 7 or 8, you are a passive. And lastly, if you answer 9 or 10, you are a promoter. And to calculate the actual MPS score is also pretty simple. It's you just take the share of promoters in percentage and to subtract the share of detractors in percentage as well. So the highest possible score you can have is 100, and you will get this score if all your employees or customers are promoters. And the worst possible score is minus 100, and in this is a score. This score will happen if all your respondents are detractors. So if we move on to next slide. So what do we in Questback offer when it comes to MPS? We actually offer several things. First of all, we have an MPS question type, which includes a lot of built-in functions. We fully support surveys with data collection over time, which is really common when it comes to MPS surveys. We send out surveys maybe once a month or once a quarter, and then you can analyze the result over time. We also have several integrated functions and modules which can be used based on the MPS score. So, for example, if you are a promoter, you can skip logic, so we can skip a question and move on to another question. For example, we have also several functions in the reporting and reporting module where you can have special MPS graphs, etc. And also, we have this follow-up and dialogue tool. So it's possible to communicate. First, find a certain, for example, detractor or passives or the promoters, and then also communicate with this group through the tool. So you don't have to send an email from Outlook, for example. And then we also have a really useful thing that you can also put in your own benchmark, or for example, MPS Target. So, for example, if you have your company wants to have at least 50, a score of 50, you can put that in, and you can see how your result fluctuates compared to this targets. And of course, there's several other stuff as well that Tobias will show you in a bit. So why eNPS? Maybe you are already measuring MPS, but why should you also measure eNPS? Well, I think I always recommend my customers to both work with CX, so customer service, and EX, so employee experience and service, because it's very important. It's a really good way of getting to know both the customer and your employees. And if you are having this MPS number for the customer and eNPS score for the employees, you can also combine them and see if it correlates. For example, if a region has a really low MPS score from the customer, maybe there's something from maybe if the employees are dissatisfied, maybe that's something, that's a reason why the customer MPS is so low, etc. So it's a really good way of finding learnings from both the employees and the customers. eNPS is also a natural touch point when you are, creating initiatives for the employees, a way of learning more about their loyalty and how you can affect that as a company. It also provides strategic insights for recruiting, and some of our customers are also using the score to brag or trying to attract new hires. If you have a good score in eNPS, you can maybe it's easier to get new recruits. And also, of course, the learnings you get from a eNPS survey, you can use that and target initiatives internally and find how the best way to develop and train your employees. So this was a little bit of a short presentations about the concept and a little bit what we have. Now we're gonna move on to Tobias' part here. And before handing over to Tobias, I just want to mention that this session is recorded, and we so if someone misses this opportunity, they can get the link afterwards and have a look at it. I can also say that we have a chat. Everyone is muted in this webinar, but we have a chat, and my colleague Pontus will be able to answer your questions there. And if you are, he will answer them in, you can send the questions in English or in Swedish. These are the language that he can answer in. So I think that's all from the introduction part. Tobias, you want to take this further on and do a demo?
Absolutely. Thank you, Otto, and welcome from my side as well. As the invitation said, we want to demo you now that within a few minutes only that you can set up an eNPS initiative or a feedback forum or a survey where you can engage with your employees, and I will guide you through Essentials, the platform that you know, and then maybe Otto will sort of be the sidekick and add some comments here and there, so that it really also becomes a bit of an interactive demo in that sense. The intention really is with this webinar, as with all the other webinars that we're currently running for our existing customers, is that to give you a bit of food for thought, or a bit of tips and tricks on how you can possibly use Questback Essentials in different ways. As Otto said initially, MPS was developed as a customer experience or customer loyalty measurement. But there's no reason why we cannot, or you cannot, use this in an employee context as well. And this is what we're going to show you today. In Essentials, what we have prepared here is basically a very, very short, yet sort of based on best practice, a survey or a quest, and where we show you how the different elements of MPS work can be combined with other feedback activities in your account. What Otto initially outlined also already in his presentation is that there is a specific question type called MPS. So it's a single select question, but it's MPS. And the special thing about this is then that the text is already pre-filled. The scores 0 to 10 are also pre-filled. And the option here for an internal target or a benchmark is also to be set here in the question properties. This is nothing that is ever visible to the people that are replying to the quest, but is something that you do for yourself, and that also will be visible then and useful in reporting afterwards. And I'll show you that in a minute. So it all starts here by simply using the question MPS in whichever employee-related or employee-targeted survey that you would like. It can be a question of many in a bigger employee engagement survey. It can be a single question in a single survey just with that. So there's no limitation on where that question type can be used. However, what we recommend is that you not only ask that question, but you combine it with 2 additional question elements. One element is that we would always recommend is that you follow up with open answer questions. Here, for example, you say, what should we do better? So that if somebody gives you a low score, or a good score, then that you go a bit deeper and say, okay, please provide some examples so that you have more data to work with. So that is sort of the first recommendation. When you have an MPS question, always follow up with a couple of open answer questions to capture more details. What we've done here is we have added in this example, and this is really just an example, we've added actually 2 questions. One, what should we do better? And the other one is what you like best. And we use these two examples not least also to illustrate the skip logic capabilities that are fully integrated and related to the MPS question. Let's say what do you like best at Questback as your place of work? This should be a follow-up question that is only for the promoters. So straightforward, you add the question, and then you add a routing condition here saying, and you see you point upwards to the MPS question, and you see that these three components, detractors, passive, and promoters, are predefined here as categories. And you say, okay, if you are a promoter, if you give a 9 or 10, then you get to see the follow-up question about what do you like best. And the other question here, what should we do better? Maybe this is typically a question that you would ask more detractors and passives, so that they're given the opportunity not just to give a low score, but to be constructive and say, okay, we give you a low score because of this and this. So skip logics, routing as we also call it in Essentials, is fully available and supported for MPS as well. And as I said, the guidance or the best practice advice is that you actually do follow up with a couple of open answer questions to get more insights from people that provide you an MPS score. The other element that we typically recommend is that in addition to the MPS question and the open answer question, that you include in one way or another at least one or two questions about demographics or information about respondents. For example, should you be operating in different countries or in different locations, that you ask the people, where do you work? Or if you already have the information, you don't need to ask about it, but you can upload it also with respondent data, a means that you're certainly aware of. Or that you also include information about which department, so that you really get then the capability to drill down and slice and dice on the reporting side of things and say, okay, instead of getting an overall MPS, maybe there's a difference between the management and customer success team, or between F&A and R&D, or between countries. So all in all, I think these are the three components that we would at the very least recommend you to include in any NPS or eNPS work, meaning include the NPS question type, include a couple of follow-up questions around with open answers, with routing skip logic, and some demographic questions. And the result then would typically look like this and say, okay, I'm very likely to recommend, for example, and why I love of the pizzas on Thursday evenings. And then you say, okay, and I'm from Denmark and I work in customer success. So these are the three elements that we typically would recommend to be included, because that way one really gets a bit the overall picture. We get a score, we get input to work, open answer input to work with, and we get some demographics also to work with. So this is, in a nutshell, again, on the design side of things, on the data collection side of things, this is how we would recommend you to do it. MPS plus open answer plus some demographic questions. On the reporting side of things, being conscious of time, moving on here now, on the reporting side of things, you're certainly aware that in Essentials, the system does a lot of work for you automatically. You get an automated report online and in real time, and the data that you are collecting are instantly included and updated. So you, for example, get an MPS score, and again, remember that the way it is calculated, the percentage of promoters minus the percentage of detractors gives you the MPS score. This is a fixed methodology and nothing that we discussed today, or whether you like it or not is yet a different question, but the MPS methodology is built that way and is also typically visualized that way with a stacked bar, promoters, passives, and detractors, and the MPS score. The question might come at some point, what is a good MPS score, what is a bad MPS score. And this is a very hard question to answer, because we don't know your audience. We don't know the relation that you have with your employees or customers. So it's and giving you sort of a benchmark as such is as such very, very difficult. However, personally, I would say, as long as you're on the positive side of things, you have more promoters than detractors, which is by itself positive. And is so in this example with dummy data, we have a bit of a challenge, because you see the detractor part is much bigger than the promoter part, as such also the negative score. So this is what you get instantly out of Essentials. And then obviously you get the comments that are listed here, either sort of dummy text wise or the way it is answered, and you get also the demographic questions. This is all good and already hopefully helpful for you. Another recommendation, and Otto has also talked about this, is that especially with MPS, it is most relevant and most interesting to collect the data over time, so that you almost like a fever curve, you keep the finger on the pulse, and over time, every month, every quarter, or event based, whenever somebody got through a recruitment process, or whenever somebody's onboarded, or whenever somebody is promoted, or had a talk with the management, then the eNPS question is being asked, and therefore, so you collect data over time, and that gives you then that fever curve, that way of seeing, is it getting better, is it getting worse. The good news with Essentials is that you get full support for such data, for such visualization of data over time. And I'll show you an example, and then I'll show you also how that is very, very easily set up. Initially here, the score, as we've seen here, is visualized with the score and the stacked bar. And this is a data collection, let's say over a period of a year, and combine over the full year, the MPS score is minus 32. However, even much more interesting might be, and this is also where then this internal MPS target becomes so relevant, is that get a visualization of how the data have developed over time. And that this is what we call a timeline reporting. And we see here all through spring and summer 2021, we struggled. We then had a big focus on it and made a big effort towards the end of the year, and actually managed to lift the MPS over the target towards the end of the year. Before then, people got a bit tired. It was the start of 2022, and things dropped again. This is just dummy data, but it is an illustration of, it's exactly the same data, the same responses, combined in one score, or split up as a timeline, and you instantly see that maybe both together, like this, left and right, together gives you the most for MPS. The way you set it up, very, very straightforward. What you basically do is, within a report, you duplicate the question, the MPS question. And on the first question, you choose that in the display settings, the normal stacked bar. And in the second one, you say the chart type is spline, and you do activate the timeline here with the monthly period. And the result then is, as we've seen, a timeline visualization like we see here, which gives you, as I said, or as we described, the insight that slow start in the summer, a good peak at the end of the year, dropped a bit at the beginning, but now we're really on our way up again, and it has paid off the efforts to increase the work there. So that's one way of working visualization. The open answer questions here, as you know, also can be visualized either as text. What should we do better? The internet in the office doesn't work as it should. Price list, management is not present. These are things that could be done better. visualized as a text or as a word cloud, what people like best, the breakfast, the buffet. So food is very important. Food makes people like go to work. Could be one finding here. Also here, the visualization as text or as a word cloud. The next step, obviously, is then to see, is there a difference with these demographic questions? Is there a difference between whether people work in Denmark or in Sweden or in Finland? And this could be then, for example, set up like this, where we set up a report, Sweden versus Norway and Finland, where we have the MPS score for Sweden. And we really see there's been an enormous amount of work done here now, and we really lifted the. Finally, we passed the target. In Norway, we started better, but we were at Finland, sorry, on a declining trend here. While in Norway, we had a huge peak here, and then it really went south in the last period. So this way, with drilling down, again, it's the same data, but instead of having an overall view, it might well be worth splitting it down into such comparisons. And the setup here also very straightforward. In the reporting, what you do here is you set up a separate report, and also here we're duplicating the questions a number of times, and we sort of apply the respective filter. For Sweden, we obviously create the filter for the country Sweden. For Finland, we create the filter for Finland, etc., and then you get the visualization of data like this. Almost getting to the end of the half an hour, just to wrap up things. The one thing that we've shown you here is the visualization of data in reports. The other thing that we also mentioned in slides of Otto is the capability to follow up and to engage in a dialogue instantly with people that provide feedback. For this purpose here, we have activated 2 notifications. One is triggered automatically whenever somebody says, I am very likely to recommend you, and I'm from Sweden. And the other one is another alert email. And this one goes to a predefined address within Sweden saying for HR to follow up. The other notification for instant follow-up is that all the people that give a lower score, they get sort of a receipt saying, thank you for your honest feedback. We hear what you say, and we would like to work with it. Help us with it by engaging in the dialogue. The result of these 2 notifications is like this. If you sort of give a bad feedback, you get that email instantly with that confirmation, and you get the option to give further dialogue, where you then can engage in a dialogue with the organization, with the person that orchestrates the feedback, and go back and forth and do dialogue beyond your feedback collection. The other example that we've seen here is that the HR team in Sweden would be alerted that they have a very positive employee. They can click here on the link. They can learn who has given that feedback, the employee's email address, what they have answered, and they can go back to that employee and say, dear employee, we have this recruitment campaign. Why don't we sit together and see how you can contribute there, so to get even more colleagues like you. So this way, the follow-up part, the working with feedback, the taking feedback seriously, the way it comes in, and to offer the people that provided that feedback the opportunity to add extra feedback or engage in a dialogue, also included, also fully available for MPS. And we see here with the detractors and the promoters and the passives, there are countless use cases where such a follow-up can be very, very useful, both for the negative feedback and the positive feedback, as we've seen in these 2 examples. The half an hour is through, so I shall not talk much more, but I hope that I could show you that within a few clicks only in Essentials, you can not only get up such an MPS or an eNPS survey, but you get insights on your fingertip with reports and timeline reporting and comparisons, and not least also how you can use notifications and follow-up to really engage further with the employees. Otto, did I miss it?
Yes. No, maybe one thing that did you show how to set up the MPS target? That's
Yeah, of course. I think I showed it very briefly, but
because that's
probably too quick. It is in the designer here. Within the question properties, you set up the MPS target. This is simply an internal target that you set for yourself that you can change, and it's only visible for you in the reporting.
Yeah.
Yes.
Perfect. Yeah, because a lot of questions that comes in regarding MPS is about comparing and how can we use the data, the result we get. And I think you said that as well, Tobias, that it's really important to because you can compare to other companies, but is the other company a complete are they the same type of company exactly? Or is it a difference between that? So it's kind of hard to compare to other companies. But what we really advise our customers to do is to have like this target and compare it to themselves to see like how can we make our MPS score better during the time. So this is a good way of having we have this target 20, and how can we work to reach that target? So that's really something we advise our customers to do. I know that there are, if you really want to, you can find some numbers online for this category if you are in retail so that's also possible to find and have that as a target. We are a little bit over time, but we will continue shortly with some questions. We had one question about if we should only do you really only ask this question, the MPS question, in a survey? And when it comes to that, because if you have a long survey and with 10 questions, and you end the last question is an MPS question, and if you, for example, have or the first question is MPS question, and then you have 20 questions after that, it's a very the most accurate score, I would say, is if you have just like a question, the MPS question, and some follow-up questions after that. But if you have it if you're making it in a survey with several, maybe the respondents are so tired, so maybe that affects the result and the score. So I would say that I would really recommend to not have too many questions in an MPS survey. But if you have that, as Pontus have answered, you're able to filter the answer through what the score is. We have also some other questions about the word cloud. If you're, it would be good to see the number of respondents that have said that word. So you can see that if you're hovering. But if the question is if you can also see it in another way, and at this moment you're not able to see that per word if you are in a graph. But so it's only if you have this, if you're using this live report function, which we also recommend our customers to use. There is this option to just hover over the word, and you can see the number. Do you have any other tips for this question, Tobias?
No. As you said correctly, we recommend obviously to use the live reports because they're live, they're online, they're real time, and it's the size also. The bigger the font, the more the word is actually chosen. And if you really want to get the exact numbers, you need to hover over. Yes, exactly.
And another question would be good to be at least also for the notifications. It would be good to be able to set a threshold. Let's say if we received more than 50% of the feedback being detractors from a specific time period, HR would get a notification.
Yeah, this is with the follow-up the way we've defined it. This is not initially not supported because the way we look at follow-up is it's a follow-up with an individual person, a person that has given feedback that should be followed up. If you want to have some threshold alerts, there's nothing that automates that, but obviously at any time, any given time with a live report, you can track the data and you can sort of see how things go. So that is supported. Yes.
Yeah, I think, and the last question now is just from Mikael again here, and it's about like having, if you can have a threshold for the workload. So if you a minimum of 10 repetitions for it to show in the workload, and that's
there's no such word cloud threshold, but now we're moving away a bit from MPS to word cloud.
Yeah.
But conscious of time, just to show you quickly, when you set up a word cloud, obviously you have editing options there. You can say in the display settings the number of words. So the lower the number, the more you only visualize the words that are selected frequently. You have also you can stop words, you can exclude words that you feel that are repetitive. So you do have a lot of options there, but there's no threshold that says only display that specific keyword if you have at least 10 answers next to it. Yes.
Okay, I think that's it. We couldn't see any more questions now. If there is any, we will answer them afterwards. Like some final notes that we have some guides about all our functions in our academy. So you can find the academy on the platform. So that's a good way of finding more information. You can also contact your local CSM if you want to have like some help with this with MPS or eNPS. So we will gladly help you out with this. Yeah, I think that's it. So thanks a lot. Sorry for making it a little bit longer, but we're really glad that you joined this session, and we will get back if we have more webinars in the future. Thank you all.
Thank you. Yep. Bye for now.
Bye.